This is a family conflict that came up recently. I, male 46, used to work in the military, so I was away from home most of the time. When my then only son was a toddler, I discovered by accident that he wasn't mine. He was my older brother's son. It was the most devastating time in my life, aside from what I was dealing with. My ex-wife and I ended up divorcing, and I cut contact with my brother for years. I was done with him even after my ex-wife, who we married the same year of the divorce, died suddenly. My parents thought my ex's death was supposed to make everything okay, as they claimed she was the one who drove a wedge between my brother and me, but I kept my distance. My nephew started reaching out to me, and we began seeing each other more often when he was a teen. He has always been told that the fight between my brother and me was about business. My parents threatened to disown me if I told my nephew that his mother was my ex and that I should just leave it alone, which I did, since they said they'd pick their nephew/grandson if they had to choose. My nephew tried to get me to meet my brother to talk, since my brother welcomed the idea, but I refused. Finally, I made it clear to him that he needed to stop forcing a reunion, and he respected my wishes. He's now 21 and is getting married soon. He sent an invitation which I declined and returned right away. He called to ask why, and I said I'm no contact with his dad, so I won't come since he'll be there. My nephew refused to accept that and came over and started criticizing me, saying I was unnecessarily bitter and resentful towards his apologetic dad over some business. He could not believe how much hate and grudge I kept inside me against his dad. He said I either try to work things out with his dad or he will not be seeing me again. I felt hesitant first, but then told him his dad and I don't have a usual beef, and that his mother was my ex-wife, who his dad messed around with while I was in the military. My nephew denied, saying his dad and grandparents never told him that. He thought I was lying until I showed him enough proof to get him to change his tone. He left in a hurry and was enraged. I later found out via my parents that my nephew canceled all my family's wedding invitations. He put the wedding on hold, disappeared after a huge argument with them, and disowned his dad. My father has gotten very sick after this incident, and my entire family keeps harassing me, saying I ruined everyone's life with what I did because of my hate and resentment towards my brother. They said they wanted me not to talk, and now I should deal with the consequences of alienating their grandson/nephew from them. Not the idiot. Your nephew is an adult, fully capable of making his own choices. You were pressed for an answer. Your options were to no longer have your nephew in your life, meet up with your brother, or tell him the truth. Your family threatening to disown you for telling your nephew the truth is super toxic. I can understand not telling him when he was a child, and even to a certain extent as a teen, but once your nephew was an adult, he deserved to know. Not only that, but OP has been painted as the argumentative idiot in favor of the cheating brother and ex. Holy cow! How do you do that to a man who both his wife and his sibling betrayed? For 20 years, he's held his tongue, despite his whole family, parents included, behaving like this. Not the idiot. Your family is delusional if they thought that they could keep it a secret forever. If they had not tried to keep it secret and your nephew had grown up knowing the truth, he might not have blown up the way he did. He blew up because he realized that his family had lied to him his entire life. You tried not to say anything, but your nephew was like a dog with a bone and he would not let up, pressuring OP for an answer. Apparently, he couldn't handle this information if he canceled his wedding and disappeared. OP, you are not the idiot, but in a way, your parents are right in that you should deal with the consequences of your actions. Reach out to your nephew and tell him that you love him and you never blamed him for what his parents did, and that you never told him before because you were told that you would never be allowed to see him again if you did, if you didn't explain that already. Importantly, add that you will always be there for him if he ever needs you. I, 23 female, have been with my boyfriend, 23, for around a year and a bit. In the time that I've known him, he has never really talked about his feelings about things other than our relationship, and he has always been reserved in a sense when it comes to that, whereas I would talk a lot about my feelings in regard to almost anything. So that I'm thankful for. He's always been a great listener. This weekend I was over at his place. When he was in the shower, I was sitting on the sofa and realized that he left his phone here, unlocked. I know I shouldn't have done this, and I don't know what came over me, but I decided to look through his phone quickly. I went onto his notes app, and it seemed like he used it as a diary of sorts. He started writing these entries when his ex had broken up with him about 2 years ago. I knew of the relationship, but I didn't know much of the circumstances surrounding it. It almost felt like he was talking to her through the entries, with plenty of questions, talk about his feelings, and convincing himself into being okay with letting her go. It seemed that he kept writing in it during our relationship as well. There were entries about his grievances with parents and relatives, and about meeting me and our relationship. I understand that some people keep notes and things, but honestly, I felt a little bit betrayed. He has never told me any of these things, and it's like there was a whole different side to him that I just never knew about. I really wouldn't mind if you wanted to talk to me about these things because I am his girlfriend. I should be able to support him and help him if needed. I started crying because many of the things he wrote, particularly revolving around his ex and his parents, were quite sad. When my boyfriend came out of the shower, he asked me if I was okay and what was going on, to which I asked him, "Why have you not told me any of this stuff?" He asked what I was talking about, and I told him that I read through his notes. His expression instantly shifted into one of anger, and he asked me why did I think I had the right to read through all those things. I was still in tears at this point, and I said that this wouldn't be a problem if he was just more open with me and we talked about it, that he doesn't have to bottle it all up by writing in his notes. Instead, he got even angrier and asked me to leave. Honestly, I feel terrible. I feel like I've betrayed his trust massively, but at the same time, I do wish he would be more open with me when it comes to these things. I truly believe that if he was, then this would have never been an issue in the first place. So, am I the idiot for feeling betrayed after reading my boyfriend's notes? You know you are the idiot, a big, giant, selfish one, and you're upset because he did something healthy and wrote down his feelings, especially before meeting you. He needs to get your butt out of his life. Snooping on the phone is bad enough, but reading his diary and then behaving as if he is the bad guy because he never talked to her about it? Wow, this woman knows no boundaries. OP, you are such an idiot, it makes me speechless. You would also search the diary of your child and read it without any remorse. Maybe even scan some pages and put them on your Facebook. I hope this man must never see you again. For feeling betrayed? Yikes! You are the idiot for violating his privacy, big time. So you're upset he engaged in a time-honored and healthy way of expressing his feelings and emotions, and you just couldn't help yourself and decided to snoop? His next entry should be, "Why did I ever trust you? And I'm glad we broke up." I was having trouble wrapping my head around that too. Like, you read his diary without permission, and then had the nerve to start crying and feeling betrayed? And then instead of rightfully being ashamed, you confront him about his betrayal? She betrayed her boyfriend so much. I really hope his next entry is exactly what you said. I, 22 male, live in an apartment with my roommate, 22 male. We are both attending college part-time and get along well with one another. The lease is under my name only. My roommate is not planning on living in the apartment after college. I do work the night shift 3 days a week. My hours are 7 p.m. to 7 o'clock a.m. He sometimes has his girlfriend stay overnight, which is no problem, as my boyfriend will stay when he visits. When I come home from work, I notice my bed has been a mess, and I found clothing that did not belong to me in the sheets. I am awful with confronting people, but I know it's not my boyfriend, as he lets me know beforehand when he is staying over. So I ordered a camera and placed it in a spot where it couldn't be seen. I went into work, and the camera app notified me that there was motion in the room. I turned the camera on and saw my roommate and his girlfriend on my bed. I was mortified and stopped watching the video. My boyfriend came over in the morning, and I showed him the video of my roommate and girlfriend on my bed. Then my boyfriend texts the video to my roommate, and he texts back that he wants to talk when he gets home. Roommate and I talk about the situation, and I tell him that it's disgusting that he and his girlfriend are using my bed. Roommate's defense is that the bed is more comfortable than his. His girlfriend comes over in the evening, and she starts attacking me for putting a camera in the apartment. Am I the idiot for putting a camera in my bedroom? Not the idiot. You have a camera in your space. If they are being caught on your camera, in your space, where they should not be, then that's on them. Who cares if your bed is more comfortable? It is not theirs. They are disgusting. Not the idiot. He's not on the lease. Give him a 30-day vacate letter. I would not want to live with anyone that violates my space like that. I would also double down and put more cameras in the apartment. And your roommate's excuse is completely invalid. He and his girlfriend are only upset at the camera you placed in your bedroom because they got caught. Not the idiot for putting up a camera, but illegal to send your boyfriend the video. If they did what I think you're implying, it's one thing to show him briefly. But if your roommate and his girlfriend wanted to take action against you for distributing a video of them doing you know what without their consent, they could. So just be careful. Even if you only sent it to him so he could send it to your roommate, it doesn't matter in the court of law. It's distribution, whether he watched it or not. It's OP's private space, so OP can do whatever they want in it. OP, again, it's your private space. So what are they doing entering your room without permission? It would help if you locked your door before leaving and made it clear that what they were doing was inappropriate. They are in the wrong here, not you. My family, myself, wife, and son, are neighbors with my in-laws, sister-in-law, husband, and 2 daughters. Recently, my wife and her sister have been setting up playdates between our son and their youngest daughter at our place as part of childhood socialization. In addition, they are similar in age. I was a little apprehensive at first. They have vastly different parenting methods, like heavy screen time to coax their kids into eating and letting their domestic helpers clean up extensively after them. We have a helper ourselves, but we instruct her to guide our son into cleaning up his toys and food mess rather than spoon-feeding him. Their eldest daughter is a recurring reminder to me not to parent our son that way, as I find her an extremely spoilt brat. During one of these playdates, I was at home, and I saw that after they finished playing with a set of toys, she, my son's cousin, moved on to another set without putting them away. My son was in the process of putting these toys away when she told him to leave them and come over. I stepped in at this point and told both of them they would have to pick up their toys before moving on to another set. She said that the helper would help them clean up and refused to do so. I said that if that was the case, playtime was over. She ignored me and went on to the next set of toys, which I took away from her and led her out of the playroom. I told her that if she wanted to continue playing, she needed to apologize and pick up the first toys. She kicked up a big fuss and started bawling, and I sent her back to her place. A few hours later, my sister-in-law came down and demanded to know why I was so mean to her daughter. I explained my stance, and she insisted that I could have just let our helper clean up just this once. Our son is very impressionable, so I refused to budge on this in our own home. She said that she could send her helper with their daughter to clean up after her if that would be such a big problem. And I also found out that the previous playdates, our helper simply cleaned up after them. I said I didn't want them to send their daughter over again, and she told me that I was sticking my nose in their parenting affairs. I told her that it was none of my business, but once they stepped into my house, it was my rule. My wife is on the fence about this. On the one hand, she thinks we have to stick to our principles, but wonders if it was worth souring a relationship over what seemed like a trivial incident. Am I the idiot for putting my foot down? Not the idiot. Your wife is on the fence because that's her sister, so you're the only one seeing clearly at this point. You're doing your niece a favor by teaching her that different households/people have different rules. Unfortunately, her mother isn't doing her any favors by letting her get away with her behavior. Not the idiot. And so much the point that you're teaching your kid the rules. Letting the brat next door break the rules, especially suspending the rules because the brat doesn't like them, is teaching your kid all the wrong lessons. I'm not even going to start on the idea of letting your in-laws staff come over to clean up after the brat. That's just wild. OP, your niece will be in for a rude awakening when she goes to school, and there is no helper to clean up after her, and her teacher forces her to clean up after herself. Your son, however, understands the importance of cleaning up after himself, and that should absolutely continue. Your sister-in-law is doing a huge disservice to her kids by not teaching them basic life skills. I'm assuming you are a little wealthy because you have helpers. So in that case, do everything you possibly can to make sure they're not spoiled. I swear you're not wrong. It will help your son later in life more than he could thank you. My daughter, 18 female, started working full-time in June because she has no plans of going to college. She makes $14 an hour, and her paycheck is a little over $900 every 2 weeks. We originally had her chip in $150 every month for her car insurance and $50 for her phone bill, so $200 every month. However, she's been lying to us about where the money is going, and we haven't gotten a payment from her since the beginning of September. She says she forgot to clock in and didn't get paid. The money got stolen from her bank account. She has no idea where the money is and why she never got a paycheck. Just all these excuses not to pay us. However, I think I figured out where her money has been going. She's been buying all these Bratz dolls with her money. I went into her room today because she borrowed an outfit of mine and never gave it back. I found all these Bratz playsets, makeover heads, these dolls, cars, party buses, planes, room decor, etc. that she didn't have before. 3 boxes showed up at the door this morning in her name, and one has Bratz stickers all over the outside of it. I don't care if she wants to buy Bratz dolls. However, she is missing her monthly payments and lying about it, which makes me so mad. My husband thinks we need to charge her rent, and she doesn't need to spend all her money on dolls. I honestly agree, it's ridiculous. He thinks we should charge her $300 for rent instead of the $200 she already owes us. She also doesn't do chores around the house anymore because she's 18 and thinks she doesn't have to listen to us. It's a constant fight to get her to do anything, and she mouths off a lot, talking back, swearing, screaming, etc. I'm honestly getting sick of her behavior and the lying. Not the idiot. I would support my child through college or any career path, such as a union apprenticeship, but I will never allow my child to sit at home for free, working a dead-end job and not getting anywhere in life. In my opinion, if you don't charge her rent, then you're the idiot. She needs to grow up and get a taste of reality. First, why is an 18-year-old buying Bratz dolls? Second, not the idiot for charging her rent. She's an adult with a job and doesn't contribute to the home she lives in any other way. If she doesn't want to pay you, she can move out and deal with the real world. Not the idiot, but charging rent is not the way to fix this. You need to get her to take on the $200 responsibility first, because if she's not paying that now, then no way adding rent on top of it will get her to pay. You're already very generous in letting her stay with you. Sit down and make it clear to her that she'll need to move out the next time she misses a payment. You owe it to her to teach her that responsibility before she enters the real world. She also needs to pitch in with the chores. She's living in a shared home and needs to do her part. Do not do her laundry for her, or clean up her room, or anything like that. She's 18 and needs to learn responsibility, not play with dolls. Not the idiot. Sounds reasonable. She will need to get her own car insurance and phone someday, and pay the bill on time. Rent too. But I'm weirded out by the many comments here. An 18-year-old collecting Bratz dolls is no different than adults liking Pokemon, Lego, or video games. It's just a hobby.